What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Unfiltered Waters. And this week we have a particularly remarkable young woman. We are joined by none other than high diver extraordinaire Molly Carlson. Now, you've probably seen Molly all over social media diving off of insanely high cliffs going, who has the bravery to do that? Diving off 20-meter platforms, and that's just one piece of Molly. Molly has also built a millions upon millions community of people that are trying to be brave and trying to get over anxiety and trying to be proud of their bodies. And it was so cool to hear the way that Molly has overcome an eating disorder, how she's overcome, body dysmorphia, and really how she gets up every single day and fights because she doesn't feel it every day. She's not always positive every day. She's not always thinking that she can do it every single day. And to hear that come out of her mouth from someone who is doing something that very, very few people in the world can do was really, really refreshing. And if you follow her on social media, on TikTok or on Instagram or anywhere, you can feel it from her coming through the screen. And it was no different in our conversation with her this week. And I know so many of our listeners and viewers will glean so much. I know the biggest takeaway for me was just keep getting back up no matter what. Even if you're fearful, it's okay. Keep doing it. Everybody is. And the craziest thing is she talked about what it's like when she's climbing up a cliff to dive off of, what's going on through her head. So I'll have to let you guys watch or listen to know the answer to that. But we are just very thankful to have Molly on today. And without further ado, Molly Carlson. Athletes think 8 hours of sleep means they're recovering. But when you're waking up tired and sore all the time, that's your body's way of telling you that it's just not enough. This happens at all levels, from beginners to the Olympic level. Trust me when I say I've been there. You hit every checkpoint, bedtime routine, clean nutrition, hydration, but you wake up the next day flat, foggy, sore, and it makes zero sense until you realize that sleep alone doesn't equal recovery. Not if your body's systems aren't getting the support they need to reset overnight. After a while, I learned that high-intensity training floods the body with cortisol, a stress hormone that can interfere with your ability to enter into those oh-so-important deep sleep stages. So even when you get the hours, if your nervous system is still activated, your muscles are still inflamed. Then your serotonin's out of rhythm, and you wake up feeling like you didn't sleep at all. And that's a major performance risk for reaction time, decision-making, long-term output, all things that are pretty important for our daily life. And swimmers, our races come down to hundredths of a second. I honestly got tired of the stress, the lack of recovery, just being my new normal. I started using IM8. It's not a sleep aid. It's a complete recovery 16-in-1 supplement formula that supports the systems your body relies on to recover while you sleep. IM8 is filled with natural ingredients, including magnesium glycinate, probiotics, antioxidants, to truly name a few. And this is huge. I swear it tastes like apple juice. It tastes so good, which is really, really rare. And it's not just athlete endorsed. It's built for people who live high performance lifestyles. So if you're sleeping but still waking up tired, your body is not broken. You're just missing the support that it needs to truly recover. So check out IM8. Sleep is the foundation of our health. But as we all know, sometimes life gets in the way. It's hard to fall asleep or stay asleep, or you just wake up not feeling your best, super groggy and tired. Dream Recovery's mission from the very start has been to provide products that help do just that. Wake up ready to fight and conquer the day. They've designed high-quality mouth tape as well as dream strips. They've got their blue light blocking glasses, sleep masks, all products designed to help you sleep your very best. I want to talk about the dream strips today. So they've got, of course, their mouth tape. They've got their Dream Tape Plus. But I know so many people I hear are so nervous when they hear the word mouth tape, taping your mouth at night. The Dream Strips are an amazing gateway to get you used to having something on your mouth. It's just a singular vertical strip over your lips. It's not scary, and I can say from my personal experience, I was really scared to try it. And now for the last year, I cannot go without it. I fall asleep faster. My nervous system relaxed because I'm breathing through my nose, as we all should, and I wake up feeling awesome no matter what. So we've got a special code for you guys. It's Unfiltered 30, which give you 30% off of all the Dream products. So try it out and have the best night's sleep ever. Molly Carlson, welcome to Unfiltered Waters.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be your first high diver.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I can't think of anybody else to be that person to educate us and take us through. And I mean, I have so much respect. I don't know how you do what you do, and more people need to know just the bravery it takes to get up there and do it.
This sport is absolutely terrifying. I honestly, sometimes I'm like, what am I doing with my life? But then you're like good at it and you're like, well, we're going to do it anyways.
Can we start from the jump and how you got into the sport? Because it is such a terrifying thing. So are you drawn to adrenaline rushes? Is that kind of how you got into it? But I want to know how this all started.
So I definitely was a gymnast when I was like 7, and my sister was a swimmer, and I would go to her practices. And I love swimming. I'm so proud of you guys. But like watching her swim back and forth, I was like, okay, like I'm 7. Like I want to stare at something a little more entertaining. And I would always look over and see these girls jumping off the platforms. And I was like, Mom, I want to do this. And she's like, well, that would be better for me. So then we can go to the pool and like your sister and you could train. She's like, this would be easier for me. So I switched over. I thought that was the biggest decision of my life. I was like, diving or gymnastics. I couldn't do both. We couldn't afford to do both. Like, like school sports. And anyways, so I joined diving at like 8 and just started like falling in love with jumping off high things and being the first girl in my group to do things. And I just really enjoyed, I don't know if it was the attention you get from jumping off high things or like the fear and the feeling when you hit the water. You're so proud of yourself every time. But I just loved it. And I just loved, stepping out of my comfort zone. And I grew up with a lot of anxiety from like a really young age. And I think diving was the first place that I could just let all the fear exist because it's allowed to be there and not be afraid of it. And I think that was really cool, just showing myself that I can face fear every day.
Yeah, talk about that more, because I think when a lot of people think, oh, diving off a cliff or diving off a platform that's 20 meters high, all they think about is anxiety and fear and not being able to overcome it. So how did you do that? I mean, I know you talk so much about just having the fear and having it exist, which I think is incredible, but how do you approach that, and when did you figure that out?
I realized in my regular diving career, like no one around me was talking about fear ever. And I was like, these Olympians are perfect. You go to the training centers across the country and I'm like, why is everyone perfect all the time? I'm like, is it just me? Like, I'm not perfect. Like, how is everyone in a sport where you're chasing perfection? You obviously don't get 10s every time. You know what I mean? And that was really hard to realize, is that, okay, we're literally never going to get perfect scores all the time. I want to finally talk about it. And it took me literally switching sports, because regular diving is really not political, but like you just need to be a certain type of person to get on the national team. You need to, always be positive, always. And I was like, am I going to get kicked off the team if I start like crying on camera? Like I was just really nervous. And when I didn't make the 2016 Olympics, I was like, okay, pressure's off. Let me talk about everything. Like there's no shame here. And I switched over to high diving. And that's when I just was so vulnerable, because I was like, I have nothing to lose. Not a single person is going to jump off a cliff with me. So I'm literally the only one that does this, where I can talk about things, and we're not an Olympic sport. You don't have to deal with all of the pressures of, representing at the Olympics. And I think that took a lot of pressure off my anxiety as well, was you're doing this for you and not other people. And that was like the best moment for me, was I get to enjoy this because I truly love doing what I do. And you're not doing it to please other people, to be perfect for other people. And I really think the switch 5 years ago, after COVID, 2020 was, it changed my whole mentality. And I realized that fear is absolutely allowed to be there.
You kind of touch on it, but can you talk about, maybe on a deeper level, what the biggest cultural differences are between just normal diving, like the diving that we would see off of a springboard or a platform at the Olympics, and then what you are diving or what you are doing, like high diving, cliff diving, all of these things? Because maybe for somebody, even me, I don't necessarily, I know the difference when I see it,
right? But
I don't know like the internal culture.
No. Great question. Everyone's like, what do you mean you're not a diver? I'm like,
Right.
Well, so basically, diving is what you see at the Olympics. It's the 3-meter springboard and the 10-meter platform. So those are the events that we always join World Aquatics with. So you'll see divers this summer in Singapore. They'll be jumping off the 10-meter and the 3-meter springboard. And then there's synchro and all those fun events. The thing is, a lot of countries do it. And I was like, okay, I want to be unique, you know? I want to do this sport that is really, really challenging for the brain and the body. And so basically, as soon as you elevate above 10 meters, you are always landing feet first. So in regular diving, you're always going to land on your hands. But as soon as you pass that 10-meter threshold, you're always landing on your feet for safety reasons. You would literally snap your neck, but we don't need that.
We don't need that. Nope.
So that's when you switch over to your feet. And originally, I had broken both my wrists. And I was like, I love landing on my feet. Like, I have the technical skills of a diver, but I want to be landing on my feet. And that's when my college coach was like, dude, high diving's for you. You get to travel, you get to live it up, you get to see the world, you get to jump off beautiful things. And I was like, I will never jump off these cliffs. I thought he was crazy when he told me this. And back in the day, like in 2019 this was, like there was little videos that existed. No one was sharing this sport. Like very few women in the world were doing this. Maybe 10, like it was super small not that long ago. And so when he had mentioned this was an option, I was like, oh, like my diving career doesn't just have to end when I finish university. He's like, no, there's so many more options now. And I was like, yeah, but the option is jumping off a cliff. Like this
like,
is
sweet.
This is not a fun option. But then I started messing around with feet first on 10 meter, like to see if I liked it. And you guys, I loved it. It was scary because I was like, oh, I love this. And the next step is 20 meter. And I was like, so I called up Team Canada and I said, hey, like interested in high diving. Is there any chance I could, you know, come try it out? You guys have a 20 meter platform in Montreal. Like I was just curious if I could give it a go, you know, not anything serious. And they literally go, how soon can you move to Montreal? We want to start a program. And I was like, I'm confused. So I uprooted my whole life without even jumping off anything higher than 10 meter with this dream of being a Red Bull cliff diver. And back to your original question, now high diving we also go to World Aquatic events. So we get our own World Cups and we go to World Championships, which is super fun. So I'll get to see all the other sports at World Championships. The only event we don't do is the Olympics, which honestly, my anxiety can't handle that. So it's perfect. But so we really get to go to so many now. And I think the thing to get us into the Olympics is just we need more countries. And it's a very expensive sport to be doing. And we have 22 countries and you need about 35 to enter the Olympics. So we're still a ways away, but it starts with sharing stuff and being able to get more people involved just by, you know, showing the world what high diving is. And I think we are doing a good job at that. I think everyone has seen high diving now on their For You page at least. So
Thanks to you.
Like, thanks to you. Yeah. Carrying the sport on your back.
Actually. You've mentioned anxiety and overcoming fear and just that imperfection that all of us have. Can you share more of your journey with that? Because I'm just so inspired by how vulnerable you are with it.
Yeah, I think this does also connect to that difference between diving and high diving. When I was a kid, I had made national team at like 12 years old, and that's when I really started to feel it, was wearing the maple leaf. Like, I had grown up watching the Olympics my whole life, and I was like, if they were the maple leaf, that's like a big deal. They're representing their country. Like, and as soon as I had a swimsuit with the maple leaf on it, I was like, I'm gonna let people down. Like, my initial thoughts was not, yay, I made a team at 12. Like, let's go to Colombia and compete at Pan Am's. Like, it was literally, oh my gosh, now I have the opportunity to let others down. And my mom's like, girl, can you not be this anxious? Like, remember why you started it in the first place. And I completely lost sight of that for a few years. I almost quit the sport at 14 because it was just too much to handle. The thing was, I wasn't bad either. Like, I was going to these events, I was winning junior Pan Ams, but I just had so much pressure on myself because I didn't want to fail. That fear of failure is really heavy on perfectionists, and we are unfortunately in a sport where you become a perfectionist. And so after that, like, little 14-year-old, should I do it? I kind of found the love again for, okay, do it for you. You kind of go through these cycles. Okay, who are you doing it for? And my mom's always like, do it for the 7-year-old Molly that just wants to jump off things. She's like, you don't need to be perfect. Like, you can just go out there and enjoy the sport. And I was like, okay. So I did 2 more years of that. And then I turned 16, and it was the 2016 Olympic trial year. And I was like, oh gosh, let me freak out all over again. I was like, this has been my goal forever. To go to Rio would be insane. Like, let me try to make this 2016 Olympic team. And unfortunately, I fell into a severe eating disorder because I was trying to be someone else. I was basically a really tall athlete, and I'm 5'8", and the rest of my competitors are 5'2". You've seen divers, like, they're very, very short, and I always thought that would, help you spin faster, help you, everyone that was shorter was making these harder dives that I had always dreamed about. But then I didn't realize everyone that was shorter wanted the longer legs because it's more beautiful, and, like, the judges give you high scores because you're elegant. And now I recognize that I definitely had beauty and grace, but I was just spending so much energy comparing myself to other people. And because I obviously couldn't get shorter, I thought the only way to learn these hard dives was to get smaller. And that was just a really hard time for me. We had just moved to Toronto to excel in my diving, and I'm from Thunder Bay, Ontario, super small town. And so it was already a transition, moving high schools for grade 12, and it was just a lot. And also trying to be as small as possible was absolutely heartbreaking. And even if people around me noticed, it was like, you don't care what people think because you truly think in your mind this is the only way you're going to make the Olympics. And it was awful. I felt like I couldn't talk to anyone about this. I felt like I was the only one going through these problems because everyone else in the country was short. I'm like, oh, imagine being short. Like, life is just better. And I just, like, wish I could go back and give 16-year-old Molly a hug, because no one should feel that alone when they are going through, thinking that they're doing what's right for their sport, but they're hurting themselves. And that is just so scary. And so what ended up happening was my hair was falling out. I broke my wrists. I was, so fragile that I ended up not loving my sport anyways. And it's almost like when you don't love yourself, there's no way you can be the best athlete you could be. Of course not, because you have no energy to go out there and to do the sport that you love, because all of your energy is focused on what do other people think. And shocker, I didn't make the Olympics. And that was probably the best thing that could have ever happened to me. Not making the Olympics was the best thing that happened to my life because it wasn't like I hit that last dive, I didn't make it, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm free. Like, that's where my mind went. It was like, I don't have to go to the Olympics and wear the maple leaf and like fail this country. That's how deep I was in this people-pleasing mentality, in this perfection. And I literally said, that was the moment I was like, I need help immediately. And it was like the next day after trials. And you don't realize you need help until you hit rock bottom, which is unfortunate. I hope no one has to hit rock bottom to realize that. But not making that team was amazing for my mental health. And I spoke to psychologists the next week, and I just really learned that I love diving, but if you're sacrificing your health to be a diver or to do the sport that you love, it's not worth it. And that's when I decided to step completely away from representing Team Canada. And I went to school in the States on a scholarship, and I loved it. And I found the joy again for it because my coach there was like, Molly, the first week I got to university, I told him, I was like, listen, I have a history of eating disorders and anxiety, and I just want to come to university and find the passion again. And he's like, you're so talented. I hope you can find that. And I hope you know that you bring so much more than your body to practice. And that like changed my life. Like that sentence, he said, you bring your smile, you bring your energy, you bring your joy. And that's what the judges remember. It's like who you are up there is so much more than what you look like. And from that day on, I was diving the best I had ever dove because I was just in a better place. Sorry, I rambled there. Oh my God.
No, there's like so many nuggets.
Full body chills. I don't know if you can see it, but
yeah,
it's, again, so incredible how brave you are. I mean, it's kind of speaking on the word brave. Can you talk about Brave Gang and what you've created with that? And I mean, you helped me by just saying your literal truth.
Yeah.
And I feel like some people are so scared to do that because kind of what you alluded to earlier, it's not really talked about, or maybe it's a little taboo. So can you talk about kind of the journey to getting to Brave Gang and what that is and what it looked like creating that and how proud you are of it now?
Brave Gang is my baby. Not me wearing it. I'm like,
Of course you love. It's perfect.
Yeah, get the hair back.
Yeah,
I want to see
on.
that.
we're like, it's
Yeah,
there.
there it
I literally am so proud of, this community that I've built. So after that really hard time in high school, I like promised myself and all my therapists, I was like, I never want to feel alone again. And I also want to help others never feel alone in their journey. Everyone's going through their own brave journey. Everyone's facing fear in a different way. But the one thing we all have in common is that we aren't alone when we face it. And that was my passion from that moment, was I never want someone to feel like they have to face bravery or fear by themselves, because you have a community supporting you. We're all, worthy of celebrating. And I think that that's all 16-year-old Molly needed to hear was, Molly, you are brave. Like, just getting back up there and doing this for you is brave. And, I wish someone, again, the Olympians, when I was diving, never talked about mental health. And it was still taboo. Like, up until the 2016 Olympics, mental health in sport was very, very tough. And then, the whole Simone Biles switch, 2020 Olympics, like, there was a huge mind shift in how you talk about it, how important it is, and how it's just as important as physical health. If you break your ankle, everyone believes you. But if you're going through anxiety, no one cares, and that's where the coaches needed a shift as well, and they needed to start taking courses to respect it. And I knew that this shift was happening, and I wanted to almost be at the forefront of it. And so when I started high diving and showing my sport behind the scenes, I didn't realize people were so scared behind the screen of what I was doing. So I would go and I would jump off these platforms, and these poor people in my comments were like, I have like chills just watching this. I had to throw my phone. I'm like, what do you mean? I'm just like,
Oh my God, get it out of
I'm like,
here.
you're sitting on your couch, like you're fine. And that's when I was like, oh, like I could make an impact. If just my sport can get this many views, let's use my sport to get these views and talk about something way more important. And so that's when I would be on the edge of a cliff and literally be like, hey guys, I have cellulite, watch this. And oh my gosh, the amount of love and respect I got, like I don't get hate comments, which I'm like, this is crazy. Sometimes I get the, oh, she's so annoying but cute. I'm like, period. You know what? I will continue to be annoying because I want to make a difference. And it's just so funny because obviously no one does what I do. Like there's maybe 20 girls in the world that, go out there and do this high diving sport, but everyone can relate to insecurities and body image and doing something scary. And that's where I connected the Brave Gang. And I was sitting in the kitchen with my mom during I think a year into high diving. It was 2021. And I said, listen, Mom, I have over 1 million followers now on TikTok, but I'm not connecting with them. Like I want to be able to do something where everyone can, be proud of each other. And I was like, we need a hashtag. So then we started, for sure it needed brave in it. And then we were like brave team, brave community. And then I follow Daddy Gang. And I was like,
Oh yeah, we are Daddy Gang members.
Yeah, period. It needs to be Brave Gang, obviously. And my mom and I were like, jaws on the floor, this is it. We're locking in Brave Gang. And I started using this hashtag and convincing other people to use this hashtag when they are doing something brave. And it's over 1 billion views on TikTok now. Billion.
Wait, are you serious?
B, capital B.
And I'm like,
Molly!
and I just scroll. Sometimes I click on the hashtag on TikTok and I just start crying. Because it's just these beautiful messages of people being vulnerable, sharing their own brave story. And I'm just like, we did this. We made a safe space. And that's where I switched over to Instagram and made this page where now we duet other brave stories and just highlight people for, it doesn't have to be massive. And I keep telling people this, you literally don't have to jump off a cliff to be brave. You can, if getting out of bed in the morning is an anxious thing for you, congratulations, you did it, celebrate that. If showering, period, girl. Even my mom, getting back into the dating world after a divorce, I'm like, this is crazy stuff. And we all have our own journeys. Coming out to your parents, people are hashtagging Brave Gang. I'm like, this is way too important. Please don't use my hashtag. You are the moment. But it's so funny, and I just love how it's really brought people together. And now we have over 6 million followers across my platforms of just people being so disgustingly positive. I'm like, I don't know how I went from such a negative diving environment, hating myself, to literally I can post my cellulite and people are clapping and I'm like, this is exactly who I wanted to be. And I'm just so proud of being able to be vulnerable and get out there and know that it's resonating with others and helping others. And it's just so cool. I'm like, wow, I guess I'm never retiring because I'm just going to keep getting older and my body's going to change and I'll just keep posting about it.
You'll be 80 with wrinkles and people were like, yes, girl, yes.
Jump off that 20-meter cliff.
Oh my, what has been the most humbling story that you've heard from the Brave Gang community?
Ooh, honestly, the most humbling, I do get a lot. The thing when you talk about mental health on your platforms is you get a lot of people sharing their whole dark stories.
Yeah.
And it can become a lot as, of course, I'm I want to be there for everyone. But it got to the point where people were so comfortable sharing their darkest moments that it was taking a toll on me. And I almost had to set a boundary by saying, okay, my mom now runs my Brave Gang account because I'm like, Mom, I can't be a professional high diver and hear people's depression every day. I'm so proud of them for talking about it, but I need them to get the right resources. I'm not a professional whatsoever. Yeah. And I just had her go in and always give them the right resources. And I just needed someone to do that community management because, I mean, I'm so happy that it is a safe space and people can open up. But at the end of the day, again, I'm not a professional, and I do want everyone to get the right help when it does get too dark. And that has really just been a eye-opening experience, is that, okay, as soon as you do open up about mental health, people finally feel comfortable that they can too. And that is so amazing, because if anyone, when I was 16, opened up about their mental health, like, I know there was plenty of Olympians in the judge sport world with eating disorders, but they would never talk about it. And if they had been talking about it, who knows, maybe I would have got the help earlier, you know? And so I'm just grateful that now I do have this platform. When I see these messages come through, I have the right connections and the resources. But on a more positive note, there are really cute stories that I'm like, I get the 10-year-old girls being like, I learned my first cartwheel because of you, or these moms. I had this girl with breast cancer, and she was terrified to get back in a swimsuit. And she was like, Molly, I did this because of you. And I was like, you're kidding. And it's just like moments like this, like these are core memories for these people, is like being proud of yourself in a swimsuit after beating cancer. Like, these are huge moments, and you're just hashtagging Brave Gang, and I'm like crying in the corner. I'm like, this is so inspiring. And I think this is the exact reason that I keep going, because you guys know from my first stories, my fear of failure and letting people down was so high that now if I dive terribly, people are almost more happy because it's more relatable. They're like, oh my gosh, she's human.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, I literally crashed at my first competition this summer. I went to Philippines, and I got whiplash because we train on 20 meters, but the event is 23 meters. I'm like, this is so dramatic. Can we just keep it consistent? But either way I really over-rotated. And when I posted that, everyone was like, you're so brave for getting back up there. I'm like, see, the Brave Gang doesn't care if you win the Olympics or you get out of bed. Like, this is a community that is just so proud of each other, and I just love being that person to bring it all together, for sure.
It's incredible that you've done that. And for you to all do it, not alone, but you being kind of like the core nucleus of it, I would love to know how you set boundaries for yourself, because we all need to remember that you are not only the leader of Brave Gang and posting all of the time, but you're also training as a full-time professional athlete. Like, you have this entire other life that you need to do a lot for. You need to eat right. You need to sleep enough. You need to train and recover. So how do you, Molly, have these boundaries that you set for, you know, the athlete Molly and then the Molly on social media and running all of these kind of like side hustles that you have?
Great question. I do get asked this a lot because I'm like, I don't know how I do it all.
Yeah.
But I think the coolest thing is that, like, I do have 3 full-time jobs technically. You know, there's professional athlete Molly, there's content creator, and then there's CEO of Brave Gang. And I love all 3. And I was like, okay, how can I make sure that I can do all 3 but not burn out? And I really sit down with my coach at the beginning of every year, and I say, okay, this is our competition schedule. I want to peak here, here, and here. And I also want to go to these events, like the Kentucky Derby. He's like, what?
That looks sick, by the way.
Yeah, but you're hanging out with like
So
Simone
funny.
Biles. You know,
I'm like with Alex Earl. I'm like, who am I? But it's just so random like that. This content creator world brings me to these random places, and he does an amazing job. Like, this was the first coach that really respected, of course you can have your phone at practice. Like, that was a big no-no growing up, like distractions. Or imagine swimming, you could never have your phone at practice.
No.
And like, you're not touching the wall and Snapchatting. Like, it's, you know, there's
Hey guys, just finished the last 100. Can you imagine?
Coach, one moment, please.
I keep telling Summer, she's like, oh, like, how do I make more content? I'm like, bring your phone on the flutter board. She's like, I literally can't do that. I'm like, fair.
Yeah. Like,
But the thing is, like, my coach is so supportive of this underlying goal of making a difference and being vulnerable. And he's like, if that's your passion, and using my phone has been such a great distraction, because if I'm just diving all the time, which almost in the Philippines I was full on, this is my year, I need to go out and win this. And you get in your head, you're runner up 4 years in a row. I'm like, okay, it's my time, not like second in the world is anything to be ashamed of, but the media gets in your head, like, is she finally going to do it again, pleasing others? And that's where I love my socials, is I can be my true self, and it's so supported. And now I'm like, if I go to events and I'm just diving, I start freaking out. So if I go to events and I'm coming up with content ideas, and I'm almost distracting my brain from thinking I need to be perfect all the time, because my platform is to create videos that are organic and relatable. And it just reminds me to bring it down a notch. Like, yes, being a professional athlete is amazing, but being a professional athlete with perfectionism sucks. So I'd almost rather have the distraction of not work, but it doesn't feel like work. I truly love posting on socials. Plus, I love the attention, so it's perfect.
I've got it. I've cracked the code, guys.
You come up with the idea. Yeah, exactly. You come up with the ideas, and they go viral, and it's just like you can literally fail a dive and still get way more views than if you nailed it. And I think that's really fun, is that all my eggs aren't in the basket of being perfect anymore, and that's just really helped me almost perform better. When I have so much going on, I'm like, oh yeah, I am a good diver as well. Like, remember that? So it's been fun, and I'm super pumped. I do want to peak in Singapore, because in my head, like, all these Red Bull cliff diving events, so there's the Red Bull cliff diving circuit and the World Aquatic circuit. The World Aquatic circuit is 0 unknowns, perfect conditions. This is my vibe, okay? You always dive off 20-meter, flat water. It's going to be very safe. And I feel like I train for that, and I'm ready to peak at those kind of events. Red Bull cliff diving is a whole other animal, okay? They're like, can you rock climb and then jump off 23 meters with a drone in your eyes? And I'm like, no.
But then you're like, but I'm doing it.
But I'm going to do it, because the video will be crazy.
Yeah.
And so it's just funny. Like, there's definitely the two. And some athletes really peak, like the world champion, Rhiannon Iflin in my sport, is so consistent around the world, because she did trampoline her whole life. So she was like always landing on her feet. And so people don't come from just diving backgrounds. And when you do, you're like, you don't know how to adjust. You're used to the same height every time. It's like if you go to, I don't know, backstroke, you see the little flags, you know a certain amount of strokes to touch the wall, but then they make it longer or shorter, and you're like, I wasn't ready for this.
That's a good swimming analogy. Good job. That was just like right off the top of the head. Yeah.
But it's like, okay, so you've trained for, why am I even training if it's a completely different sport,
Yeah.
And it's cool to see how Rhiannon loves that element, and then she gets to World Aquatics and she's like, ugh, I hate it. It's like lower, it's harder. I'm like, this is perfect. This is my element. Like, let me have one, Rhi. And she's like, yeah, you can have this one.
Yeah.
We've been back and forth for like 4 years, and I think healthy competition is nice as well, because when you are always pushing each other and you finally do get that win, like, and you celebrate with each other, I think that's because we wouldn't be as good of athletes as we are without each other. And I think that's just so cool about being a pro athlete is I don't really like when people are poor sport. I'm like, that's so scary to me. Like, if I come second, I will hype number one up, because imagine jumping off a cliff and you're not clapping for someone. Like, that's the thing with Red Bull cliff diving, is that, and high diving, you're going to clap for every single person that jumps off that platform, because it's so intense and scary. And we're such a family in this sport. That's really different from diving. And in diving, you don't talk to your competitors. You're not clapping for them during competition. You know what I mean? And that was the biggest shift that I noticed was, wow, this is a really too positive of an environment. Like,
it's like throwing you off for a second.
Everyone's clapping for everyone, because every single dive is so brave. And I think that was the coolest thing. And it just reminded me that no matter if you're first or last, like, you are doing something incredible and deserves to be celebrated. And I think that was just the right mental switch for me, was to come to high diving.
As an Olympic athlete, I've always had to be extremely picky and selective about what I'm putting in my body. And now, recommending these products and using them myself, I need all boxes checked. That's the highest quality ingredients, safe, tested, and effective products, and Momentous does just that. I have been taking their products for about 6 months now because of my husband, Todd, and I have to say I felt a huge difference. I also love that they have every single supplement that I need, so I don't have to switch around. I can just go to one trusted source. So my favorite products are the Momentous 3, the creatine, the omega-3s, and the protein, the whey protein, which is chocolate, is my favorite. So I'm building lean muscle mass with the whey protein. I'm increasing my brain function with the creatine. And then, of course, making sure that I'm reducing inflammation and helping with my muscle recovery with those omega-3s. So if you are looking to switch it up with a company who's doing differently, as well as putting you first, head to livemomentous.com/unfiltered for 35% off your first order. That's livemomentous.com/unfiltered for 35% off your first order. I have a question that that's the main question I wanted to ask you before even talking to you is, can you take us through, you're climbing up the rock, you set up to, like, what are the thoughts in your head throughout that process? Starting from like, grab the rock to like dive in.
No, literally. I think the journey to a high dive is always different, right? So around the world, you might be diving off a balcony, off a bridge, off of a rock, off of a waterfall. And you're like, how did my life get to this point? Yeah. And what's important to know, and people don't know this when you're watching from the outside, is you will only ever do your easy dives off of these insane locations, and you'll always do your hard dives off of a platform. So we're never going to throw our world's hardest dives off of a waterfall, you know what I mean? And so you're always only doing like a simple dive that you're typically comfortable with. You're going to be as safe as possible. But again, the adjustment is crazy. So the whole time you're like, okay, let's use the rock climbing, for example. I've never rock climbed in my life. And I'm like, how am I supposed to use I don't do arms. So I'm like using my arms. I'm getting across this like mountain in the Philippines. And you finally get on your little, what they call a platform. It's like your feet don't even fit on it.
Oh my God.
And you're like, okay, now I'm like, my heart rate is at 9,000. I just did a marathon. And I need to calm myself down to do a beautiful dive. Like, oh my gosh, it's so random. And the whole climb, I think even like in Montreal, perfect conditions, when you're doing a scary dive, the whole way up, your like animal brain is saying, you don't have to do this. You can go home. Like, there's a beautiful life for you at home without high diving. You know what I mean? Every high diver goes through this, is like, those moments right before a big jump are so negative in your head, like telling you, go home. Like, you literally don't have to do this. Don't jump, don't jump, don't jump. That's like on repeat in your head. And you have to battle it back with, I'm ready for this. I've trained for this. We haven't trained for this, okay? Like, these are different heights every time. Like, there's nothing telling you you're actually ready for this, but somehow you gaslight yourself into thinking you're ready for this. And so this back and forth of, okay, I can do this. Like, imagine the video. Like, that's always what I'm like. Okay,
The content's going to be sick.
do it for the brave gang. Like, every time I'm like, imagine if I didn't have the brave guy, I wouldn't be jumping for no video. Are you kidding? And so I'm always just like in this battle. And then you stand on the edge. You try to do your breathing techniques. Therapy goes out the window, you guys. Like, there's there's nothing on the edge of a cliff that's like, yeah, I'm so calm right now.
Yeah.
And so that's where, instead of like pretending fear doesn't exist, that's where we really have to welcome it. And so I actually in therapy learn to sit with the feelings of fear and recognize that they're allowed to be there. If you're always pushing it away, your attention isn't on doing the safest dive possible. So the best thing to do when you're on the edge is to literally tell yourself, okay, this is insane. I am crazy. I am allowed to feel terrified right now because this is a terrifying sport. But I'm going to allow that to be there. I'm not going to waste my energy pushing it away. And I'm going to put all my energy into doing the safest dive so that I can do it all over again. Sure. And so basically that's the on the edge conversation in your mind is, okay, I'm ready for this. Fear can be there, but I'm still going to try to put all my attention into doing this as safe as possible. Because the thing is, if you belly flop in this sport, it's an automatic hospital visit, you know? Like these are not soft landings. Like when I did 3 meter, I would like, wah, I belly flopped. Like there's no margin of error in high diving. And so you always have to be 100% on. And I think that's where the mental battle gets really tricky. And, you know, I think my worst landing was I landed from my hips to my head parallel to the water. And I immediately got a concussion. I didn't knock out, which is great. I would have quit if I lost consciousness. But it was in Montreal, super warm pool. The temperature of the water matters a lot as well. Because if you're hitting at these high impacts, basically the water's softer if it's warmer. And if it's salty, even better. So warm salt water is like the best combination because it feels so fluffy and like it doesn't hurt. Like cold, fresh water, game over. Like even if you land perfectly, you're like breaking an ankle. Like it's so painful. So that's a little high diving inside scoop. But basically when I got my concussion, it was in really hot water in a safe environment. And I had to take a full month off and just do the full protocol and then compete the next month, the same dive. And you're like, okay, this is extra scary because it's almost like when you learn from your mistakes in this sport, you actually have been to the hospital, you've seen doctors. Like, it's not like, okay, I've learned to never do that again. It's like, I've learned to literally never do that again.
Yeah.
Like, if you do that again, you're done. You know, you can't get 2 concussions in a row. Like, you know? So this sport is way more drastic than we try to think. And us as athletes, we're like, that'll never happen to us. And I think fear should always be there as a high diver because it keeps you safe. And that's something that, you know, you can't unlearn. You know, you need to respect the fear and respect that this sport is dangerous, and that's what makes it extreme. And that's probably why we're not in the Olympics, is because it's very extreme.
Yeah, the IOC is like, we don't want to deal with
They're
that.
like,
We're set. Are you okay if we get into the weeds a little?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, Molly, I want to know what the process is like to learn a dive. And especially on a platform, maybe if it's a Red Bull cliff diving event where you don't necessarily know the height, but I'm assuming you just don't get up on a 23-meter platform and just go for it the first time.
Right.
So how are you practicing it on land, mentally, visualizing from start to finish? You know, you have the idea and then you're doing it.
Yes. No, this is a great question. And I'm actually learning a new dive on Thursday. So the timing is perfect.
Amazing.
No, it's perfect. So basically, everyone thinks we're like, yeah, send it. Not at all. Okay, we're not sendy people. We are the most calculated people to ever exist. And I think that's what people forget, is that we're not just like jumping off cool things and doing as many flips as we can. We are literally training like full-time athletes for 12 months straight to be able to do these dives safely. And okay, I'll give you an example. My front quad half pike, I was the first woman in the world to do this in a competition. And it was so cool. And I did it standing, and it was just like really, because sometimes you get a full platform where you can run, and sometimes they're like, sorry, no run. And so I'm like, okay, how do I prepare for this? And I don't know if you've seen those videos of my training, but we wear a belt, and we take the belt in the water, and we actually do the exact dive on like a 3-meter springboard with the water belt on. So your coach is like pulling you. And you do the exact dive that you would do up on 20 meter like 100 times. Like you feel exactly what the dive is going to feel like on 20 meter before you ever do it. So that is like the key, is like making sure you've visually done it in your head a million times. You've physically done it and felt what the dive is going to feel like with training wheels. And then you do all of your lead up so you don't ever show up to practice and go straight to 20 meter. In competition you do, unfortunately, because there's no little boards. But in training, when you're learning dives, you actually do. So for a front quad half pike, you're obviously going to start with a 1.5, a double, a 2.5, a triple, a 3.5, and then you practice your entries, and you're doing entries like a 10-meter flip to your feet. We call it the Branny maneuver. That's basically the end of every high dive, is you do the same Olympic 10-meter dive with a Branny on 20 meter. So I was actually practicing a front 3.5 pike like the girls in the Olympics on 10 meter. So I'm doing these 10-meter optionals as if, I'm training with the best in Canada on 10 meter. And then the girls are like, okay, have fun on 20 meter. Like that was your last dive before going up. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm not just doing 10 meter. Like I have one more step to do. And when you put it all together, you guys, the moment you hit the water on a new dive, like this makes it all worth it. Of course there's fear, of course there's stress, but I am absolutely adrenaline junkie, and I hate to admit that, but the moment you hit the water and you nail something that no one's ever done in the world before, or very few people do, you just feel on top of the world, unstoppable, and you're like, I just did that. Like the feeling is unmatched. And of course you've done I think every high dive takes a good 6 months of preparation before you ever do it. So if you're planning a new dive for the next season, right now I've been prepping this dive that I'm going to try on Thursday since January. So it is not the 6 month, but again, I'm going to be up there doing it for another 2 months. So then it's perfect in Singapore. And yeah, it takes time, and we are definitely very calculated athletes, but that's a little background on all the steps it takes. You don't go straight to 20 meter.
We'll be looking out for that dive on video, and we'll know the backstory.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm actually going to be in Singapore. I don't know if I'll be able to make it to any of your events, but if
Fun.
I can, because I'll be there for swimming.
I'm taking you on the 20 meter, girl.
Oh my God, please. I will die for that video.
Like, I don't
promise summer. I'm taking summer.
Okay, I'll go with summer.
Yeah.
I don't hate heights, but I definitely don't love like 20 meters.
I mean, you know what's crazy? When I think 20 meters, I'm like, that's, short course worlds. It's 5 meters short of the full length of the pool.
Oh, God.
Think about that.
Oh, that's insane.
When you lay it down, it looks insane. I'm like, ooh, I don't want to see that up.
Yeah.
Yeah, Molly, you're incredible.
You are such a badass. We're going to go into our final 3 questions we ask all our guests. Yes. So the first question is, what is a moment or memory outside the sport of diving, high diving, that's brought you the most amount of joy?
Ooh. I think a memory that stands out to me was, it's always not when I'm competing. It's right after I finish competing and I walk out, and I was diving in Montreal, and this group of girls, they were probably like 15, all came up in matching shirts, sobbing. And I was like, what do I do? Like, all these girls are running up to me, sobbing. And
oh my gosh,
the amount of gratitude they had for just being vulnerable was insane. And I was sobbing as well. I was like, oh my God, like, this is why I do what I do. And it was just the young girls that maybe thought they were alone in their bodies. They were all taller as well. I was like, my people. And they were all just so thankful for me, sharing that I have cellulite, sharing that I get bloated, sharing that this is all part of, being a woman, period. And that was like the biggest moment for me where I was like, I'm going to keep doing what I do. And it doesn't have to be about the sport at all. It's literally getting online and being vulnerable, because this is the difference that we're making. And not me trying to make girls cry, but at the end of the day, like, it was happy tears and grateful tears. And it was just a beautiful moment in my career.
That you created. It's wild. So the next question is the same thing, moment or memory that has brought you the most joy, but we're going to go inside the sport.
In where? Sorry.
Like inside the sport. You know, maybe something
In the
that you
sport.
accomplished or overcame.
Yes. So same thing. When I switched over from diving to high diving, my first ever event, I was in Saint Raphael, France, and I had gone years of hating the body that I came in. And I remember being up on that platform, and I looked down, and I was wearing the maple leaf for the first time again since my eating disorder. And I looked down, I'm wearing the maple leaf, and I was so proud of myself for like showing up, not starving myself to get there. Like, this was pure, healthy Molly in a healthy body, looking down, wearing the maple leaf, and being so proud that I was finally ready to accept the true me. And I was crying. I was like, girl, get your life together. You have to jump off a cliff. Like, these tears are not allowed to be here right now. And it just reminded me that I'm doing this for a much bigger purpose. And it's to, you know, find that kindness for myself again, and to do it for me, and to be nice to myself. And that was a really big moment in my probably life, because I finally accepted myself and I was representing Team Canada. It just felt like a big full circle moment. Yeah. Oh my God, I'm gonna cry.
Yeah, you made me cry over here.
Again,
so
cold
beautiful.
chills. I don't know if we can get like
Yeah.
close up.
Sweet.
Molly.
Yeah. All right, last question. I don't want this to be the last question, but last question. What is a word? I feel like I know what it's going to be. What is a word that inspires you or motivates you, or just truly helps you be who you want to be on the daily?
Very obvious answer for me is bravery.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a word that's resonated with me more since my hard times was the word brave and bravery, and just remembering that no matter how much you achieve or how much you fail, you are putting one step in front of the other every single day and being brave, and you're still going, and that deserves to be celebrated. And life is worth way more than what other people think. And look at us go. Let's be brave.
Amen.
Yeah, you are changing the world, literally.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Well, Molly, thank you so much. I mean, I'm leaving this conversation more positive, more courageous, more brave. Like, we're going to go crush the day. So
I don't have anything to jump off of, but I will find a reason to be brave today. And
love
we
it.
will both do it, and we will think of you. So thank you
Aw,
for inspiring
thank you guys
us,
for having me.
and the listeners, and everybody that follows you on all of your platforms.
Yes, it's such an honor, and I cannot wait to hopefully see all of your guests in Singapore. It's going to be a little reunion.
I know. I'm so excited. I can't wait
so
to see
I
you in
have such
Singapore.
FOMO already.
I know. We'll send you
We'll
photos.
FaceTime you.
Perfect. Perfect.
From the 20 meter.
Oh, thank you guys so much.
Yeah.
I'm going to go jump off a cliff now. So.
Right.
And good luck on Thursday
Yeah,
with
good
your
luck.
new dive.
I'll send you videos.
Yes,
Please.
we will be looking out for it.